If you read comics and are above the age of 13, someone has probably asked you why. Why do you read comics? Those are for kids. People see pictures of big muscly guys and chicks with big tits wearing bright colored spandex fighting bad guys and automatically assume it's for kids. I guess none of these people have ever heard the phrase, don't judge a book by its cover? Or they don't realize that that applies to comics as well? Why is it okay to read books and it's okay to enjoy art, but combine the two and it's for children? This never made any sense to me. Back in the early 1900s, was it okay to enjoy the radio and watch silent movies, but to watch a movie with sound was childish? Imagine if people thought that. How creatively dead and held back movies and TV shows would be. Well, it's the same for comics. Why separate great art and fantastic writing when you can combine the two? It's a match made in heaven, and if you don't believe me and just think comics are for kids, you really need to read some comics. And most of these people claiming comics are for children are the same grown adults that will go see a G-rated Pixar film on opening night and cry in the theater. Of course, there's nothing wrong with that, but you see my point. Just because something was originally intended for kids doesn't mean it can't evolve or have different levels to it. There are children's books and there are adult books. There are G-rated movies and there are R-rated movies. There are comics for all ages and there are more mature comics meant for adults. Comics shouldn't be treated like some other thing. It's just another medium for storytelling, like books or movies. Some people prefer books to movies, some people vice versa. For me personally, I prefer comics, and here's why. Comics are great because you are purely getting the creator's vision. With books, you're saying what you want to, not the writer's vision. You imagine stuff for yourself, which can be fun, well, until cover art for the next book is released and all of your favorite characters and the world around them looks completely different than how you imagined it. That's fine for some, but for others that can help ruin the experience. And again, with a book, you're never truly going to get the writer's vision. With movies, you have studios and producers that will try their hardest to screw everything up. Not everyone gets to do whatever they like Christopher Nolan or Steven Spielberg. Most directors and writers have to deal with studio interference all the time. And of course, you have a limited run time. You may have a story that would be better fitted for a long run time. If you make your movie 3.5 hours long, that makes it more likely that less people will go to the theater. A great example of interference ruining a movie and a creator's vision is Alien 3. You had David Fincher, one of the best directors of our time, by far. To me, no one can really make my skin crawl or make the hair on the back of my neck stand up like David Fincher. He just knows how to make you stand at the edge of your seat. And I think him teaming up with the Alien franchise is a match made in heaven. But because of studio interference, we got a lackluster movie that was terrible and was nothing like any of Fincher's other work. And with TV shows, you have a lot of the same problems as movies, but on top of that, they have budget issues. You're not going to be able to do Infinity War on a TV show. But with comics, you are truly getting exactly what the creators want you to see. And when you have a great artist like a Jim Lee or Doug Mahnke, it's like having an unlimited budget with the most impressive special effects you've ever seen that will make your jaw drop. Comics bring things to life that could never make it on any other medium. Watchmen, one of the greatest pieces of fiction to come out in the past 100 years, never would have made it as a book. It's too visual of a story. To not be able to look at Dave Gibbons' fantastic art and see these characters and this world come to life would be a tragedy. As much as I enjoy the Watchmen movie, Watchmen never would have been greenlit if it wasn't a successful comic first. Oh, you want to make a superhero movie where no one is actually heroic and involves a naked blue guy that can do anything? Yeah, something tells me studios wouldn't be able to grasp Alan Moore's vision. Not to mention the fact that at the time when Watchmen came out, special effects weren't even close to being able to handle what Alan Moore had his characters doing. And same with the TV show. Budget couldn't handle it on top of most likely no one wanting to greenlight it. Comics were the perfect and only medium where Watchmen could have happened, and thank God comics exist because I wouldn't want to live in a world without Watchmen. At the end of the day, I think people need to realize that comics are a great way to tell stories and can be for kids or adults and everyone in between. Stop looking at comics like it's something strange. It's not. You've all read a book before. Now imagine you're reading a book, but one of the best artists in the world is bringing the words to life for you to feast upon with your eyes and enjoy. That's what reading a comic is like, and I suggest you try it sometime. You just have people out there like Bill Maher who just don't realize what comics are. They think of comics as some type of other, something that isn't a separate category, something that can't compete with books or movies or TV shows, something that's too childish to compete with those. They don't realize that it's just another way to tell stories, and in some ways a more effective way to tell stories. At least for me it is, and for a lot of others. And comics just works like that, and comics also has a different type of culture around it. Walking into a comic shop is a lot different than walking into a Barnes & Noble or a movie theater. Just the vibe is different, the people are different, You can say it's better or worse, it all depends where you're going. But the culture around comics is a lot different, and I think that's also part of what attracts people to it, on top of how great of a medium it is for telling stories. But you have people like Bill Maher who have never been into a comic shop in their life, and just sit in their mansion and complain about people who enjoy comics and say how they'll never be as good as a book or a movie or as sophisticated or as great. But they don't realize that things like Watchmen exist. They're some of the greatest pieces of literature ever, but he's missing out on it because he judged a book by its cover. But anyways, that's pretty much it for me today. Here's some recommendations for anyone that has not read a comic in their life, never touched one, but wants to try some. I suggest Cobra's Last Laugh, which is sort of a spy thriller type book. You have Superman American Alien, which is a bit of an origin book and like a coming up story for Superman. You have All-Star Superman, which is just a book that sort of encompasses all that Superman is. You have Batman Year One, which is an origin book for Batman that really helps build his world and is very interesting. I think a lot of people enjoy. You have Wolverine by Claremont and Miller, which is just a fantastic story about Wolverine and also kind of sad. You have Watchmen, which I don't really need to explain Watchmen. It's just an amazing piece of literature. Like I said, you just need to read it. I think everyone that's into, no matter if it's comic books or books, if you're just into reading in general, you have to at least try Watchmen. You definitely need to read it. And then we have Sweet Tooth Volume 1, which is a really cool fantasy post-apocalyptic type book from Jeff Lemire. And then The Fade Out, which is a murder mystery set back in the golden age of cinema from Ed Brubaker, and it's fantastic. But yeah, those are just some of my recommendations. I wanted to make this video because I've sort of had this sitting in my back pocket for a while. Wanted to make a video about why I choose to read comics and why most people that I know choose to read comics when it seems kind of outlandish to other people who aren't familiar with the medium. I've been planning on making this video for a while, but the whole Bill Maher stuff made me really want to make it now, because I've gone through this. I think everyone that's read comics has gone through this, where people just think it's silly to read comics because they just make assumptions and believe in stereotypes, and we're not really past that. With a lot of things, we're past that. Like with video games, we're kind of past the stereotypes of, oh, everyone who plays video games lives in their mom's basement. Now that you have guys like Ninja on ESPN, people are starting to realize, oh, maybe these guys aren't losers that just live in their mom's basement, plays video games all day. Comics hasn't really gotten past the whole stereotype of, oh, it's just a stupid thing for kids. Even though you have the movies that are making tons of money and are really good, people still can't really grasp comics, and that's why I wanted to make this video. But yeah, I want to hear from you guys in the comments down below. Why do you read comics? What is your opinion on it? And have you ever had like a confrontation with someone? Because for me, it was in high school, I had an English teacher that was very, very against comics. But I tried to tell her why. She didn't agree with me at all, but she saw sort of where I was coming from, and I kind of stumped her with the whole why not combine books and art thing, because she loves books and she loves art. But anyways, yeah, I want to hear you guys' comments. I want to hear you guys' opinion in the comments down below of why you choose to read comics, and if you've ever had sort of a talk or a confrontation with someone about comics, someone that was really anti-comics. But yeah, hope you guys enjoyed the video, and I'll see you guys later.